my next guest gained first-hand experience of UK budget wrangling as chief economist in the Cabinet Office. Jonathan Portes is now director of the National Institute for Economic and Social Research, and he recently warned that the lack of growth made a compelling case for delaying the cuts. And I'm pleased to say he's right here in the studio to make his argument with us now. Thanks very much, Jonathan, for coming in. So tell me more about why the UK government should moderate its spending cuts.
Well, we have a situation where growth is quite subdued, taking the last quarter where we saw output actually fall and the likely bounce back this quarter. We think growth has been roughly flat over the last couple of quarters. Unemployment is quite high. There's clearly significant spare capacity in the economy, and it would make sense not to abandon fiscal consolidation, because fiscal consolidation over the medium to long term is clearly necessary, but to slow down in particular the pace of spending cuts.
But how does George Osborne strike that very delicate balance that you just described?
Well, he's clearly not going to,
Yeah.
so I don't think that's not the question. He's clearly going to stick to the path that he has set out. We think that on balance, that is taking a serious risk with the recovery, and that he's not well advised to do so. But his intentions, clearly at the moment, are to stick with the plans that he set out last year.
Yeah, I guess the government argue that they're trying to avoid essentially what we've seen elsewhere in Europe, a sovereign debt crisis, even if that means taking a bit of near-term economic pain.
We think that it would be highly unlikely that slowing down the fiscal consolidation will result in a market panic of that sort. The UK's public finances over the long term are clearly sustainable. Long-term interest rates are quite low. We've seen no signs of a significant default risk premium in UK long-term interest rates. So we think that risk is quite manageable, actually.
And the risks if spending cuts continue at their current pace?
Well, the risk of spending cuts continue is that unemployment will not fall and possibly even rise a little. That consumer confidence, which is very weak at the moment, will stay weak, particularly because there are quite a lot of new hits to households coming in as of April the 1st.
How concerned should we be about inflation right now?
Well, inflation is clearly a concern, but we think that on the whole, the Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee judgment is just about right. Most of this surge in inflation is coming from oil and commodity prices from outside and from the one-time hit from the VAT rise, which we saw in January. It's not being generated by wage pressures, nor have we seen a sign of a significant tick-up in inflationary expectations. So for the moment, we think that Mervyn King and the MPC are more or less on the right course. But it certainly is a serious risk.
So we're not going to see a sustained rise in inflation throughout the year, is what you're saying?
If things continue as they are now, if we don't, obviously we can't say what will happen to oil prices or in the Middle East. But if things stay as they are now, we should see inflation start to fall back quite sharply towards the end of the year.
And when are you expecting the first rate hike?
Well, I think that quite rightly, the Monetary Policy Committee will not decide that until they see what next month's data look like. So I wouldn't want to guess which way they would vote in advance of seeing that data. It's possible they may feel pressured to move for a rise in the next few months, but that does depend on what happens now.
Jonathan Portes, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming in.